Sorry about that. Olivia. Okay. Christy, Casey, Cindy, Mariah, Sequoia. Did I say that right? Okay. Shawnee, Destiny, Amar, Vanessa, Clarinda. Did I say that right? Okay. Okay. So everybody needs to be on camera so I can see your face. Please. There's nothing new from the last terms. Everybody needs to be on camera. Shawnee, by any chance, are you in a car? Okay. You're gonna have to log off, and come back on when you're not in a car. Okay. Thank you. You guys know the drill on cars, right? It's been going on since you started, right? You guys are in your 7th term, right? So we know you can't be in cars. Doesn't matter if you're parked, passenger, driving, you just can't be in a car. And that's not my rule, that's a Fortis rule. If you think about it, big liability, safety issues. Okay. So welcome. I am Professor Marble. This is community. You're in community concepts for community-based nursing. Okay. I've sent out a whole bunch of announcements. I'm an over communicator. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I am. The structure for today, we're going to go through that PowerPoint. I don't know if you've had any classes prior to now and have seen this orientation PowerPoint, but we are required to go over it in week 1. Okay, so we're going to go over the week 1 PowerPoint. Then we'll go into the syllabus and go into the modules, and I'll point some things out. Okay, so that's going to be the structure of class today. I'm really happy to be here. I don't feel like I had a break week. But that's okay. I teach, I'm the PN program's community lead for this course. There's 6 sections. I have 4 of them, 1 today and 3 on Friday. And then there's 2 other sections. Professor Kershaw teaches 1 on Tuesdays, and Professor Ford I teach with Friday night. So there's 6 sections. Okay. So really happy to have you here. Have some burning questions that I always have to ask before I get started. What are all the nightmares you've heard about this class? You can be honest. I want to squelch those before we get going. What have you guys heard about this class? Heard it's awesome, right? Awesome. What have you heard? Chandra, I need you on camera, please. Olivia says it's hard.
Heard it was med surg based. So
You heard it was what?
med surg based.
Hmm? Hmm? A lot of med surge. What else have you heard? That's it? Oh, okay.
That it was supposed to end because of the eclipse. So
That what?
we missed out. That it was supposed to end because of the eclipse.
Well, I was telling my group earlier that
That's what
for
I
the
heard.
people that came on earlier, I thought the world was supposed to end today, wasn't it? But it didn't, so we're here.
But I logged on anyway.
Yeah, thanks for logging on. The world didn't end, right? So, community. So the biggest thing, will we be able to go out and see the eclipse? I think it's already passed, right? Somebody just put in the chat, will we be, didn't it already pass? I didn't see anything. I'm in Wisconsin. I didn't see anything. It's cloudy here. It didn't get darker. Did I
It's
miss?
dark where I'm at.
It is dark, really? So we're in these 4 minutes right now? Really? Ours is at 3:14. Okay. Vanessa, where are you?
Alabama.
Where?
Alabama. I'm
And
in
it's
Mobile.
dark? And it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I didn't see anything. I don't know what I was supposed to see anyway. Okay. So community, just right off the bat. What is the reason you think that this class is placed at the end of your program? Because you guys are in term 7 of 8, correct? So why do we think this class is in term 7?
Because we've already learned the fundamentals of nursing. Now, this class will open us up and teach us about how we would implement it in the community that we live in, or community resources.
That's really good. That's a really good answer. It's close. That's a really good answer. So, anybody have any other want to add to what Pretoria said? So the
It's
reason
so
why,
everything will come together that we learn.
bingo, 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 right? Fundamentals, pediatrics, med-surg, OB, geriatrics. If you're working in the community, is it likely you'll be taking care of that population? Those populations? Yeah,
Yes.
very likely. Right? So this is a class where you have to pull out all the tools in your toolbox, all your tools from fundamentals. I realize that most of you are probably taking pediatrics and med-surg too. Is that correct? Most of you. Amari, you need to keep your camera on. So in the community, the first thing you need to do with this class is shift your mindset. Okay, this is an inpatient hospital, and this isn't the acute care setting. We're now going to be taking those clients out of the acute care setting and caring for them in a community setting, right? That community setting can be, what are community settings? They could be rehab centers, they could be hospice centers, they could be dialysis centers, they could be schools, they could be workplaces. Whatever's not acute care. That's the whole transition for thinking this term, is getting your minds out of the acute care setting and into a community setting. And that's a hard shift to make. That's what students struggle most with, is making that mind shift over into the community. Right? Because if you think about the community, you could be caring for anybody across the lifespan, right? Prenatal, infants, all the way to the elderly. And I know a lot of you will never go into work in the community setting. Maybe some of you will. But even if you work in acute care, you're still going to be collaborating with community nurses. Maybe you're discharging a patient to hospice. Maybe you're discharging a patient to a correctional facility. Maybe you're discharging a kid that's going to go back to school with asthma. Right? You're going to be discharging clients to home. All right, so community is any place in the community you're providing care other than the acute care setting. So for me, my experience, I went from acute care as 20 years ago, 25 years ago, as the director of women's and children's services at a big hospital in Denver. I went into school nursing. So I went from acute care into the community. And I was a school nurse or school nurse consultant in Denver for 20 something years. I just retired a couple of years ago to come and teach. Right. So I spent a better part of 20 plus years in the community as a community nurse, school nurse. Okay. So quickly, my experience took me from the Navy to acute care setting in the hospitals. Then I just did 20 something years in the schools. And now this is my 4th year teaching at Fortis. So I'm exactly where I want to be in my nursing career. This past May, I hit 40 years in nursing, and I always knew I wanted to end up teaching. So I'm exactly where I want to be right now. And I love what I'm doing. I really do. It's challenging, but it's extremely rewarding. I'm kind of at a give back time in my career, right? Where you guys are the upcoming group of nurses. And so I will do my best to provide you my experience, my wisdom, my knowledge, my encouragement for you guys to get through this class. And remember, you got to get through this class, right? In order to move on. You can't blow off this class. And we'll talk about, I have a whole mantra on that, but we'll do the PowerPoint first. But you got to pass this class. So I realize right off the bat that this is a very, very busy term for you guys. Term 7 is an extremely busy term, with most of you having 2, some of you maybe 3 other classes, right? Most of you have, like I said, peds and med surge. Those involve clinicals and labs and sims. Okay, this class does not. But this is a very, very busy term for you guys. So time management, organization, keeping up with community, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. This class isn't hard. Okay, it's not. There's not a whole lot of work in it. And if you commit a little bit of time each week to get your community tasks done, and then move on to your med surge, peds, whatever other classes, you will be fine. You will. Okay, this isn't a hard class. Okay, you just got to keep up. Okay, if you get behind early, there's only a few KGAs, there's 3 exams, 5 quizzes. Those are your KGAs in the HESI. And just on a positive note, last term, we've been creeping up our scores on the HESI. Last term's January group, the average HESI score was 83. The group did exceptionally well. So I'm really confident that we provided the teaching, the resources, the prep for the HESI in this class. So it's been creeping up. Maybe a year ago, it was in the high 70s, 77, 78. Then the next term, it was at 79. Then I believe the term before last, we were at like the 80, and we were up to 83 last term. So that's really encouraging, and that's good for you guys. It makes me feel confident that the course provided you what you needed to do well in the HESI. And I can tell you, I'll just tell you right off the bat, the HESI, med surge, geriatrics, pediatrics. That's what your community HESI is about. Because if you think about it, we're pulling everything together, right? So that's my quick intro. All right, let me check the chat. I have a whole bunch of messages in the chat. Go CJ. Okay, nothing I need to answer. Okay, I'm going to share my, first of all, does anybody have any burning questions? The way I like to structure my classes, if everybody agrees, this class in particular, you already got an email from Dean Brown, added on 10 minutes per class, right? Because we have Memorial Day in May. So I would like to go right through without any breaks and get out 10 minutes early. Is that okay with everybody? So instead of 3 to 4:50 would be out by 4:35, 4:40. Does that sound good? Does anybody? Okay. And if you need to get up and go to the restroom, whatever, get a drink, feel free to do that. Okay. All right, let's jump to the PowerPoint. So when I switch out to the PowerPoint, I can only see a few faces. Okay, I can only see if, so please stay on camera. Okay, you're supposed to be on camera. I'll try and come off every little bit and just kind of do a spot check. Can everybody see this? Yes? Okay, you're going to see this all week in your other classes, but we have to go over it. So by the time I get to my Friday night group at 9:00 p.m., they're probably not going to want any part of this orientation PowerPoint, but I still have to cover it with them. Okay, so this is our April term. You guys, at this point, know what I did. By the way, I did send you a copy of this PowerPoint. You have this in your announcements. If you want to follow with it, or if you want to jot down a particular slide that you want to review in more detail, just jot down the number of the slide and go back and review it from the attachment you have. Right, so online learning, especially with online learning, you got to make sure you have a good computer, good internet access to participate. Okay, you're expected to be at class at this time every Monday. If you have issues with your computer, your internet, what I suggest to students early on is plan to go to your campus and go to class. Right? Maybe use a computer at campus. If you don't have good internet access at home, plan on going on campus to use their internet to participate in class. Okay? So, second bullet, I have interaction with students throughout the course using online resources. You will figure out real quickly that I'm very visible and I'm very available to all of you. Okay, for meetings, for tutoring, I just need to jump on Zoom and ask you a question. I'm really, really available to you guys, really 7 days a week. I can be available early mornings, late evenings, whatever. Okay. I like to think that I will provide you positive guidance throughout the whole term. I give you feedback. I love meeting with students. I already have probably a dozen meetings with students on my calendar already for this week. Okay, so if I haven't reached out to you and you want to set up a one-on-one with me, just shoot me an email. Okay, we'll schedule something. Okay, this class includes homework, weekly homework. We have some case studies. We'll go through this when we get to the module. We have exams. We don't have CJ Sims in this class. Okay, you have them in your other classes, but we do not have them in this class. You have exams, you have quizzes, you have a couple of case studies, you have a couple of big assignments. We'll go through it, but your HESI prep, your vulnerable populations assignment, we'll go through all that. And we only have 2 discussion questions in this course, and they're in weeks 1 and 2, and then they're done. Okay, we'll talk about that when we get to the module. You are responsible to complete your required coursework every week. And you know what? Just submit it. Don't be late. Don't, of course, unless there's an emergency, but just get it done and submit it. you are going to be with other Fortis locations. Gosh, we have a lot. We have Cincinnati, Cutler Bay, Cuyahoga Falls, Orange Park, and Pensacola. All those campuses are within this group of 25. For me, I'm your first point of contact. Okay, in my instructor page, you have my email and my phone number. I don't care if you text me. I don't care if you call me. If you text me, just identify who you are and what class you're from. It's Pretoria from Monday, or Chandra from Monday, Clarinda from Monday. I'm looking at you three because you three are the ones I can see right now. But I don't care if you text me. I don't care if you call me. If it's late at night, I may not get your call till the morning, but I'm your first point of contact. Okay, so I'm available by email, Canvas, messaging by phone. Okay, throughout the term, I'm going to suggest ways that you can improve your performance. I'm going to provide you feedback on assignments. If we end up meeting for tutoring or just meeting one-on-one, I'll provide you feedback. Okay, I'm very experienced in the content area for community and public health. Okay, remember, this is a professional setting as well. I know it's online, but think about it as if you're going to class on campus, on ground. Okay, the same, and I sent one of my announcements was online etiquette and expectations. So please take a moment to look through that. Okay. Contact information. I did notice that there were a couple of you that had not taken the syllabus and technology quiz yet. Okay, you can't access your shells. So the people that haven't done the quizzes yet, those 2 easy quizzes, haven't accessed their shells yet. So you haven't been able to look at anything. All right, but you know how to. You're all on my roster. So if you haven't done it, I'd go in today or, in the next 24 hours and take those quizzes so you can get into the shell and see what's going on. Most of you have been in there. Most of you have spent a good amount of time in there. So that's good. You're getting familiar with the class. So here's my information right here. Right. I'm not only your instructor, but I'm the course lead. All right. So if we can't solve something between us, you go to your course lead, which is me. So if we still can't solve anything, I or we will go to Dean Brown for resolution. Okay. This is a handy slide to keep. Slide 4, mark it down because it has my information and it has Dean Brown's information. Okay. Email and phone number. Okay. If you're having issues with clinicals or sims or labs, I can't help you with that. You need to go to your campus dean for that. Okay. Etiquette. State your thoughts in a courteous, positive, respectful manner. Be mindful of how you express humorous or emotional statements. Sometimes it can be misinterpreted. Keep your comments relevant to the discussion topic. Yes, I sometimes go off on tangents, but be considerate of others' experiences, feelings, perspective. Use proper language, titles. Don't use slang. Do not type your message in all caps. That gives the impression you're yelling. I typically do not have issues with etiquette in my class. Okay. If I need to pull you aside, I'll put you in a breakout room. Or I may send you a message in the chat and say, stay after, can you just stay on after class so we can chat? Okay. I'll never put anybody in a situation in front of the group that's uncomfortable. I won't do it. I won't do it. And if you don't stay after class, if I've asked you to stay after class to try and resolve something you don't, I'll probably shoot you an email and say, let's set up a time to meet. Okay. Online course schedule and attendance. Okay, so class starts at 3, ends at 4:50, technically. We will not have class on Memorial Day. Okay, You're expected to be here on Mondays. Okay? If there's an emergency, and maybe this is the time I bring this up, for me, the most important thing is communication. Okay? I am so easy to get along with. Okay? I am flexible where I can be flexible. I have to follow the policy where I have to follow the policy, but I'm super easy to talk to communicate with. Okay? I don't need to be in your business. However, if there is anything that is preventing you from being successful in this class, you've got to let me know proactively, not after the fact. All right, because proactively, I can work with you. If there's an emergency and you can't get to class on Monday, okay, first, I'm going to ask for some kind of documentation. If it's a health emergency, medical, provide documentation. Right? Yes, you'll be marked absent because you have to be marked absent, but with an excusal note that goes to Dean Brown and that ends up not counting against you. Okay? If there's personal things going on, we'll have to deal with those one-to-one, a case by case. Okay? But you're expected to be here on Mondays. So I implore you to communicate with me, whatever's going on. Like I said, I don't mean to be nosy. I don't need to know your business. But if you're not going to be here in the scheduled class time, you got to reach out to me ahead of time, if you can. Does that make sense? Okay. So these are mandatory classes, just like your campus classes. Course activities can include discussion questions, which we have, projects, papers, case studies, quizzes, exams. So we have all those. So this week and next week, discussion board requires initial posting by midnight on Wednesday, and then 2 peer responses by Sunday. You guys know what the drill is for discussion questions. That's no different. So these next 2 Wednesdays are the only 2 Wednesdays this whole term where you have something due. Everything else is due on Sunday. All right. So if you don't submit me your initial post by Wednesday, then half the rubric is gone for you. I'm happy to grade your 2 peer responses, but you'll see the rubric and it says the first part of the top part of the rubric is your initial response. The second part is your peer responses. So if you don't submit your post by Wednesday, you can still do your peer responses, but you only get half the credit. Okay, so don't forget, you have a Wednesday due date this week and next week. That's it. Okay. I already set up this class in your assignment section. You should have all the dates, when it's available, when it's due, and how long it's available. The how long it's available is always a week after the due date, in case you're submitting late work. Okay, and I might as well just say this now, available dates. All assignments except 3 are not opened until the Sunday before class. So like your discussion post for this week was open yesterday. All right, so your NCLEX, your case studies, your quizzes don't get open until the right before class, but those are not open until the Sunday before your class. And we'll talk about this, but I've opened 3 assignments from the get-go. It's your vulnerable populations assignment due in week 10, your HESI prep, and we'll go over these, that's due in week 9, and your 1 group project that's due in week 7. Those are all open now, but everything else is not open. And it's not that we don't want you to work ahead, but it just presents a lot of issues. Okay, so as much as everybody wants to do their 4 sets of NCLEX now, if you wait and do it on the week that it's due, the content of your questions has to do with the content we're covering. Okay. Academic integrity, big topic. Big topic. Okay. Academic integrity, all incidences of academic dishonesty and violations will be disciplined. All right. A couple of examples: cheating, plagiarism. Everybody knows what plagiarism is. Unauthorized use of notes or materials in exams, including talking to other students, forging or altering assignments. Unpermitted collaboration, giving or receiving aid on a take-home exam or other academic assignments, right? Under the circumstances in which a reasonable person should have known that you shouldn't have been getting that help. Allowing others to copy your work that is not his or her own. And providing answers from graded assignments to others. Code of ethics. What is code of ethics? Ethical values, obligations, duties, and professional ideals, right? For nurses individually, for each of us individually and collectively. So there's a nursing code of ethics. Okay, they're non-negotiable ethical standards that we abide by. Okay, I don't have any history. If anybody's been on any websites, I know that it's been being monitored by campus deans, by Dean Brown. So sites that promote cheating, okay, use of these sites does not promote honor, ethics, or integrity. The sites are being monitored, and I will tell you, they are being monitored for all Fortis students across the board. They are being definitely monitored. Being found on these sites will place you on heightened monitoring for your work and academic integrity violations. Referencing these sites or submitting work found on these sites will result in a 0 for the assignment. Okay, and it may be enough for a course failure. Second, an incident involving academic integrity is going to result in a course failure. Utilizing the sites, whether you're posting on it, downloading, perusing the sites, may put you at risk for dismissal from the program. Okay, if they're not in your list of resources in your course shell, and we'll go through that when we get to the module, do not use them. Here's a couple of examples. Studocu, Course Hero, Stuvia. Again, I have no history of any of you being on any of these sites, but academic integrity is really being discussed. The last, it's probably the 3rd term. Okay, late work policy. It is no different than your previous 6 terms. Okay, it requires prior notification. So for example, when I go in the grade book on Thursday, I'm always in the grade book on Monday mornings after stuff is due. But these first 2 Wednesdays, when you have a due date, I'm in the grade book on Thursday morning. If I don't see an initial post from you Thursday morning and I haven't heard from you, that part of the rubric is a 0. Okay, that's why it's in red. You have to contact your instructor if you're going to be late. I can work with you. Okay, I can work with you. Just don't just not turn it in. Okay, let me know you're going to be late. I'll work with you. And depending on what's going on, it may be the 10% deduction for being late. It may not. Okay, that's some flexibility that I have. But again, it requires communication. Okay, so that's why all your assignments, it's available until is a week out after the due date. Okay, so it allows for that 1 to 7 days late. Typically, it's going to have a 10% deduction. After 8 days, I can't submit. It's a 0. And I had students at the end of last term that were so close to passing and they hadn't turned in a 1 or 2 NCLEXs from weeks 3 and 6. And they wanted to redo the NCLEX. They couldn't. It was beyond the 8 days. Okay. So I'll work with you. You just got to let me know. Attendance. It's all attendance. Recorded. So don't worry about putting your names in the chat. Okay. I get a report at the end of every class. Okay. That report has sign-in time, ending time, any leave earlies or left in between class and came back on. It has all your minutes. So I've got to get, that goes to your registrar right after class or at some point during the day you have class. So attendance is taken and it's a report. And if you come in at 3:01, you're docked 15 minutes, right? If you come in at 3:05, you're docked 15 minutes. If you come in at 3:16, then you bump to 30 minutes. Okay, so even the 3:01s, you're getting 15 minutes docked. So if you're chronically late, even by a minute, it's going to add up. So just come on time. All right? Don't come in at 3:01. Just don't. Let's see. Sign in with your full names. Be on camera the whole time. No cameras at the ceiling or the walls. Anyone at work and driving will be removed from the session. So I had to, 2 students were already in the cars. So you guys, again, we're in semester 7. Okay, nothing's changed. Anyone not coming on camera after being asked to be removed from the session. You know, what I'll try and do is maybe put you in a breakout room. If you're not on camera, I'm just going to do a quick spot check. Let's see how we're all doing. We all on camera. Oh, Vanessa, I can't see Vanessa. Looking at her closet door. So we're supposed to come back on every 10-15 minutes and spot check to make sure everybody's on camera. Okay, which I'll do, but just stay on camera. Okay. If people don't come on camera after being called to come back on camera, I won't dismiss them just yet. I'll probably put them in a breakout room and ask them what's going on. Okay. Again, I try not to call out people during class. I don't like to do that. So, but I'm looking for Vanessa. Okay, let me share and go back to that. Okay. I verify students log in and log out times, and there's no fudging. I mean, if you come in at 3:01, I've got to dock you 15 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to send this report to the registrar and they're going to say, why didn't you dock them 15 minutes? So everything has to match. Anybody without posting attendance for 14 days in a row is dropped. So if you're not at class 2 weeks in a row, you're dropped. There's no makeup for missed attendance. So what happens is, even if there's an emergency, I have to mark you absent. So what I suggest to students is, if it was an emergency, even though you're marked absent, 2 things. You're welcome to sit in on another section of mine if you want on Fridays. I have a section at 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday and 9 p.m. Eastern. You're welcome to sit in on that, but I will encourage you, you need to listen to the recording from the class. Okay?
Professor Marvel,
Mhm.
so if you miss a class and you sit in on one of the other classes, is that counted toward your attendance?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope, you're docked. You're docked for that class that you missed. But Charmaine, if it's an emergency, like you have a doctor's note or something, to a court date, doctor's note, whatever it is, that goes to Dean Brown and she will make a kind of an exclamation or a star beside that.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay. Vanessa. Where's Vanessa? Is anybody on the same campus as Vanessa? She's on yeah, a bunch of you are. Pensacola. Can somebody please text Vanessa and tell her to come back on camera? Please. I know you guys all have each other's numbers. I know you do. All right, so if you could get Vanessa back here, I would appreciate it. Okay, attendance, we went through that. Here's your 15 minutes will be counted as a quarter of an hour. Registrar attendance. Yeah, you don't want to get near 20% of attendance. For those of you that may have had attendance issues in other classes, I think at 10% you get, well, it's right here. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. So, students are absent who are absent 20% of the time are going to receive a full letter grade deduction. That happened last term. It's happening. So don't be at 20%. Okay. So if you're at 5%, if you're late 4 times, if you get like 15, 15, 15, 15, that's going to add up to 5% real quickly. All right. So if you're at 5%, you're going to get an email through Campus View notifying you. If you get to 10%, you're going to be required to, we're going to have to meet. You and I, we're going to have to meet. If you're at 15%, then we have to pull in the campus administration. Okay. The level of intervention will be reliant upon the amount of time missed, and a student may not receive all levels of warning prior to 20%. So just come to class and don't be late. Okay. All right, you guys, this should all be in place already for term 7 for you guys. Review the work that's due each week, complete the reading assignments each week, complete the interactive lessons, attend live sessions, they're mandatory. Make sure you read all your rubrics before you start your assignments, because that's what I used to grade. Complete all your assignments. There is no CJ Sim in this class. There's that case studies, papers, case studies, NCLEX, discussion boards. Study and complete quizzes. I'll talk about that in a minute. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're good. To be successful, try and log into class 4 to 5 times a week. I'm always posting announcements. Like I said, I'm an over communicator. Everything I need to communicate with you is in the announcements. Review at least weekly. I would review them a little bit more frequently than weekly. I'd say every 2 or 3 days. Submit all assignments when they're due. Towards the end of each week, review assignments for next week. Don't procrastinate. And with this class, don't procrastinate. Get it done and move on to your other classes. Okay, keep in contact to be successful. Keep in contact with me. Reliable internet connection. Reliable computer. Maintain a schedule for completing your schoolwork. This is a big schedule. This is a big calendar for you guys this term, with putting all your due dates and everything due for peds and med-surg as well. Identify a quiet place free from distractions to complete work. Read all directions carefully. Did we get Vanessa back? Thank you. Okay. No problem. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Getting started, you guys. We'll go through this quickly. Open your course. Click on the instructor information. You can read about, or you can get all my contact information. As far as an office hour, we're required to do an office hours. For me, I just put my office hour as the hour before class. Okay, just to be convenient. Okay. If you would like to get with me before class during that hour, you got to email me and let me know. I don't just get on an hour before and stay on. So let me know. The caveat to that is that's not the only time you can meet with me. I told you I'm flexible. I'm available to you guys 24/7, 7 days a week. Okay? That office hour is in there as an official office hour. Okay, but all other times are possible as well. Print or save the course syllabus. Textbooks. You'll see this in the syllabus, but you guys, we're using 3 books that you already have. Right? We're using your med-surg book, we're using your fundamentals book, and we're using your maternity and peds book. Okay, so right off the bat, sometime this week, you've got to make sure you have access, you should, to those 3 books. Now, if you're a re-entry student, you may have a previous version of the book. If that's the case, you gotta let me know because I have to send you a conversion chart where it says edition 5 is on page whatever, edition 6 is on page whatever. They're not that different, but you need a conversion guide. Okay? And when I meet with all of the re-entry students, eventually we're going to talk about making sure you have access to books. Come to class prepared to discuss the concepts. Quizzes, and this comes up on another slide, but quizzes are given at the beginning of class, which means you need to be familiar with the material prior to coming to class. If you are, you'll do fine on the quizzes. If you haven't opened your book or done any preparation for the class and it's a quiz week, probably not going to do so good. Quizzes is 5 quizzes. They're worth 1% each. And I had a student the term before last fail because she missed a class, forget which one it was, and didn't take the quiz. And that 1% failed her. Okay. Other learning activities. Weekly review sessions, not mandatory, but highly encouraged. I do not have weekly review sessions. If students are struggling, okay, so with all my reentry students, I do try and meet with them weekly. Repeat students I reach out to, if they want to schedule something weekly, they can schedule something weekly. It's fine. But my expectation is that this is a Monday class. If you don't understand any of the concepts we talked about in class, my expectation is that you reach out to me within a couple of days after class and say, hey, I need to jump on Zoom with you. There were a couple of concepts you went over that I really didn't understand. I'm leaving that up to you. Okay? We do have review sessions, which I'll talk about when we get to announcements. Tutoring. Students that participate actively in these 2 interventions tend to have higher testing scores. Because many is 20 points higher. That's specifically talking about exam reviews. You received an announcement that had the master exam and HESI review scheduled for the whole term. There's a reason I put that together for you at the beginning of the term, so you can plan ahead. I realize everybody's busy with work, other classes, family, and my intent is to give you some planning time if you can try and attend these live reviews. You have an announcement about that, and I'll show you that. This, I'm not really good at importing and all this, so this is pretty blurry, but this is what's in your syllabus. So here's our grading component. It's hard to read. We have 3 unit exams worth 55%. The HESI's worth 20%, and your quizzes are the 5%. So there's your 80. Okay. If you haven't looked at your assignments yet, your exams are in weeks 4, 7, and 10. Which means the live review sessions, and there will be 3 of them by each professor, will be done in weeks 3, 6, and 9, the week before. I believe Professor Ford does hers on Monday in the morning. I do mine. I think I'm doing mine this term Friday evening. And then Professor Kershaw always does hers on Sunday evening. Okay, but you have the schedule. We have 4 sets of NCLEX questions. It's in your syllabus, but they're weeks 3, 6, 9, and 11. And in those weeks in the module, it tells you the categories to select. We have a vulnerable populations project worth 5%. We'll talk about that in a minute. HESI prep assignment, 5%. We'll talk about that in a minute. Case studies is 2 of them. They're each worth 2.5. Then we have 2 discussion questions in the group project, which are pass-fail. So the other thing I'll mention too now is that the reason why I keep your vulnerable populations open and your HESI prep open at the beginning of the term is so you can get going working on it, because the end of the term is really, really busy. Okay? Week 9 is brutal. Week 9's brutal. You have your HESI prep due, you have your NCLEX due, you have a case study due, there's exam reviews for exam 3. After week 8, it gets very busy. Weeks 9, 10, and 11 are busy. You jump from exam 3 in week 10 right into your HESI in week 11. Okay, so any of these big assignments that are worth 5% you can start on early is great. So weeks 1 through 5, homework's turned off. So after week 5, as we start week 6, I'll turn the homework on so you can see how your homework's affecting your overall grade. If you're turning your homework in, it's going to bump it up. If you're not turning your homework in, it's going to go down. And that's just to give you a feel for knowing that at the end of the term, between your HESI, your 3 exams, and your 5 quizzes, you don't have a 78%. Your homework's not getting added in the final, into your final grade. All right, so week 6, I'll turn them on. Week 8, at the beginning, they get turned back off. And that's to allow you, if you're close to not passing the class or you want to make decisions about whether you want to drop it, that's why homework grades are on weeks 6 and 7. Okay. Your combined score, I just said this, quizzes, unit exams, HESI has to be a 78 before any credit for homework is given, right? And let's say you're at a 79 at the end and homework is added in, but you haven't been turning in stuff, and you drop from a 79 to a 75, you actually fail the class and were considered a homework fail. You do not want to be a homework fail in this class. There's no need for it. You don't want to be a homework fail in any class. You must have 2 devices for exams and quizzes. Laptops are to take the exam and quiz, and your phone's to be on Zoom. Got to make sure it's charged. If you go off camera during an exam or a quiz, since they have to be proctored since they're KGAs. If you go off, you have to get a 0. All right. Quizzes. Yep, at the beginning of class, and they're proctored, and they're timed for 15 minutes. They're timed. All right, so we'll start off class doing a quiz. Okay, I got to stay on camera for that. They're designed to be given at the beginning of class to allow faculty insight into the concepts students are struggling on. Requires you to come prepared to class. We actually go through quizzes after we take them, pretty detailed. I do a lot of my teaching through the quizzes when we review them. Time for 15 minutes. Yeah, you gotta be on camera. Nothing has changed with ExamSoft. ExamSoft will be scheduled, exams scheduled through ExamSoft, log in on Zoom, second device to take the exam, sign in according to nothing's changed. Nothing. And we'll review exams right before we have our first one. But I will, when I think ExamSoft opens up next Monday, I will open that practice exam, the practice one where you get to test your technology, make sure everything's hooked up and all that, and I'll let you know about that. But I do recommend that you check in with ExamSoft to make sure your account's still up and active and nothing's happened since last term. You'd be amazed at how many technology issues come up on that first exam from people who didn't just double check to make sure everything carried over. Exams, you're only allowed 1 attempt, can't stop, pause, or resume. If you're having difficulties stop the exam, notify me, exams are time, pay attention to the time that you've used. Anyone with accommodation needs to notify me at the beginning of the term. Just because you had accommodations last term does not mean we know about it. It's just if you have accommodations, get the information from last term to me this week so I can get it onto Dean Brown. Exams are taken during class time. Okay, again, same as late homework. If there's something going on, if there's an emergency, if whatever, and you can't take the exam, you got to let me know ahead of time. If you just don't show up for the exam, it's a 0. Okay? But you have up to a week to make up an exam if there's an emergency and you had to be late. This is, you guys all know this. Okay. Look what's in red this term. This was not in red last term. No paper. No paper. You have to have a whiteboard. Okay, you have to be on camera, show photo ID, show me the area 360. No ears are covered. You have to have a whiteboard. There is no paper accepted this term. So go to your nearest dollar store, a Dollar Tree, and pick up a whiteboard. Okay? No personnel calculator is built into the system. Okay, we'll talk about that more when we get close. Exams missed without prior notice will be a 0. Exams missed for personal reasons will result in a late penalty with notification. So if you say on Sunday, listen, I have a doctor's appointment that I can't miss, I have to get to on Monday. Hopefully you're letting me know before Sunday, but I can work with you. Okay, if you have a note, whatever. But if you say, I'm sick, I'm ill, but I'm not going to go to the doctors and you want to take it later on the week, that's fine. That's your personal choice, but it will come with a 10% deduction. Okay, exams missed due to an emergency will require documentation. Notification must occur within 24 hours of the scheduled exam. Documentation must be presented before it can be rescheduled. Any exam not rescheduled in 7 days will result in a 0. Contact your instructor with issues that may prevent you from being successful before the exam. I can work with you. After the exam, I can't work with you. Requires you to communicate before you are not successful. Okay, taking quizzes and exams. Wait, I skipped something here. This one. This is new. Let's see. Quizzes, we went through that. I skipped over this. Everybody read this. That's the way it is. This is new this term. Quizzes cannot be made up for any reason. So if you end up missing a class due to an emergency, quizzes cannot be made up. Okay, that's a new slide. I don't know why I skipped over it. Okay. Where are we? I'll open the quizzes right before class. As I come on 15 minutes before class, I'll open the quiz. So if you don't see the quizzes now, because they're not published. Okay, so they'll be published right before class. Okay. Technical issues. Just stop. If you have an issue, stop. Stop taking whatever you're taking, quiz, exam, and we'll figure it out. Okay. HESI. This class is 1 HESI attempt. Okay, 1 HESI attempt. Let's see, every class, all of these campuses, you all take them on campus. Geriatrics has 2 attempts. We only have 1. As it gets closer, I'll pull up the master schedule and, by week 8, week 9, get you when your campus has opted for the community HESI. 20% of your grade, benchmark is 900. Like I said last term, be encouraged, all of you, because last term they did really well. HESI remediation, we don't need to review this now. You get this every week or every term. I'll send that out as we get closer. Contact me, really important slide 40. Contact your instructor if you have any problems, if you would just like some additional help. Homework. Hopefully you guys are doing all this already. Planning, prioritizing, completing work, and submitting work. Hopefully whatever you use for an organizational, this is just a sample. All your classes should have due dates, available dates, so you can start planning ahead. Okay, whatever you use to organize yourself, you're really going to need this term. Late work, we already went through that. It's in there again. NCLEX. You guys all know how to access NCLEX. Start your NCLEX from your module. Don't go into www.evolve.com. Go from your module, because you have to submit a PDF. I can't accept any screenshots. And in your module, I'll show you that when we get there, all the categories are listed for you. Okay. NCLEX. Okay, here's my mantra on NCLEX. All right. I believe that rationales are an excellent way to learn wherever you can access rationales. Okay. Please don't submit an NCLEX assignment that's below 40. Don't. Because you didn't learn from it. If you go do your NCLEX for week 3 and you get a 25, don't submit it. You can do as NCLEX as much as you want. You can do it 10 times if you want. Okay, you just can only submit it once. But if you get a low score, go back and read the rationales of what you got wrong and why. Retake it. Get your 25 to a 35. Go back and read your rationales again. And this is if you're doing it proactively. If you're waiting till Sunday night at 11 o'clock to do your NCLEX, you're not going to be able to do this. All right. So submit me. I like between 45 and 50. You can submit whatever you want, but I like between 45 and 50 because that tells me you learned from that assignment. And there's a reason you had 200 NCLEX questions. It's preparing you to take your boards, right? So take these NCLEX assignments seriously. If you submit me something in the middle of the week and it's in the 30s, I'm going to send it right back to you and say, I've reopened it for you if you want to retake it. But NCLEXs are really good practice assignments. Screenshots I can't take. Only do 50 questions, okay? Don't submit 225s or 510s. You got to submit the full batch of 50 because then you get the wide variety of all the categories you've put in. If you do 225s or 510s, it's going to be scattered all over and you're not going to get the benefit of the full assignment. Okay? HESI. Community does not have a practice exam supposed to be accessed. So I'm going to provide you a list. I did a deep dive with my group last term since they did so well in the HESI and asked them, what other resources did you use to study for community HESI? Because there's no community book for PN, right? You're pulling from all these other books. So it's not like you can go do a PEDS practice HESI. You can do a PEDS practice HESI. You can do a med-surg practice HESI. You can do a geriatric practice HESI. There's no community practice HESI, right? Because they're pulling it in from everywhere. So I'm going to provide you a list of resources that my group told me about. A lot of it's in your syllabus, but I'll point it out to you. We don't need to go through that. CJ Sims, we don't need to go through that. Papers, I sent you an announcement on APA format. Okay, you're expected to use APA format for the papers. Rubrics, every assignment has a rubric. Look at it, look at it. Tips for papers and discussions. Okay, this, I sent you an extended version of APA information. Questions. So, this is for your HESI. So this is what I go over at the end of the term. Were you prepared to sit for the HESI? How was your remediation? Right, what helped, what didn't help? Okay, so I go through that at the end. Okay? So there's your first stab at the PowerPoint, which you're going to get at least 2 more times this week. So I got the first stab at it. Questions about the PowerPoint, because I want to spend some time on the syllabus and the module. And by the way, week 1 content will be covered next week with week 2. So weeks 1 and 2 will be covered next week. You're not missing anything. Okay? Any questions on the PowerPoint? A lot of information, but you've heard most of it, right? Yeah? Okay. All right. Check. Okay. Next, let's go through the syllabus. I'm going to have you guys read the top section. Well, we're going to read the description, and then you can read the student learning outcomes and the course objectives on your own. So this course provides an introduction to promoting health and wellness with individuals in diverse community-based settings. Right? We're going to cover wellness promotion, independence, interdependence, discharge planning, chronic illnesses, HIV, and healthcare delivery environments such as this. These are community settings, outpatient clinics, people's homes, diagnostic case-based care centers, like I said, schools, workplaces. Community project, the community project provides you an opportunity to examine population groups along the age continuum of the community. That's just a really big overview. Remember, this is a 2-credit class, and the work assigned to it is worth 2 credits. Okay, there's not a lot of work in this class. We'll go through that. Okay, so I want to point this out to you. Here's your books. 1, 2, 3, the first 3. Don't worry about the 4th one because it's CJ Sim. You should have these updated editions. Okay, Fundamentals, 6th edition, MedSurg, 5th edition, Intro to Maternity and Peds, 9th edition. As a re-entry student, if you are, you may have a different version. That's why you need to reach out to me. But you should have all these in your library. If you don't, you need to get them. There were 3 resources in your reference package that students used last term. Okay? The first one is this one. So highlight that, okay? HESI Comprehensive Review for the NCLEX PN exam. I realize it's not specific to community, but you have adult healthcare, med-surg, you have geriatrics, and you have pediatrics. Okay? Second one was this. These are the 2 resources that were the most common that my students from last term used. Okay? The third that's not in here is your NCLEX. I had a student tell me at the end of last term, and this is a student who I believe ended up with like a 98 in the class. She told me that she would go into NCLEX and put it on study mode. And she said she did over 1,000, not that you guys are gonna do this, I'm just telling you. She went in and created her own sets of NCLEX questions for adult health. Because once she heard me say early in the term that the HESI was based on med-surg, adult health, pediatrics, geriatrics, she went and created all these extra sets of NCLEX for her that she did throughout the term and did 100 practice questions every week. So that's a third resource. Okay, even though it's not listed right here, but you already have access to NCLEX, right? So you can go in the study mode and make your own sets of questions for adult health or peds or Jerry. And then the other thing I want to mention is calculating with confidence. I don't know who's used this yet. If you struggle with math, get into this book. It's excellent. I've already given you some other math resources as well, but you have this book available to you. Okay, so you've got your HESI comprehensive review, your comprehensive review of NCLEX, your calculating with confidence, and then your study mode in Evolve with your NCLEX questions. Okay, this is the actual chart that you can read. 3 exams, a HESI, 5 quizzes, 4 sets of NCLEX questions. Each would be worth 1.25. Your vulnerable populations, big paper, 5%. HESI prep, big paper, 5%. Case studies, 2.5 each. Okay. I'm covered quite a bit of this in the PowerPoint, late term, late work. Okay. Just wanted to go through how your syllabus is set up. Week 1, the weeks are on the left-hand column. Whatever course objectives are due to be met are listed here. Okay, here's the concepts that we're covering each week. They're bullets. Here's the readings, and here's what's due. I want to point out when it says C Canvas course. Those bullets, when it says C Canvas course, those are built into your module. And I'll show you that. But those are built into your module. So you're going to have book reading and you're going to have module reading. You'll notice that a lot of the book reading, some may be full chapters and some just may be parts. If you have a full chapter in your module, you'll have the link to the PowerPoint. But if it's not a full chapter, like next week, you have all these snippets of pages. You're not going to have all these PowerPoints in your module because they're only snippets of pages you're responsible for. But if you have a full chapter, like 11 and 12, and I'll show you in week 2, you're going to have the PowerPoints for that. And then I'll show you where Canvas course is. So look at all the fun stuff we're going to cover this term. Community nursing introduction, levels of healthcare prevention. That's your primary, secondary, tertiary. Healthy People 2030 is very much applicable to community and public health nursing. And one of your readings this week is your Healthy People 2030 site. Here's your link to it. We talk a lot about vulnerability, vulnerable populations all term. Our communities are full of vulnerable populations, are they not? Full of them. Homeless, substance abuse, teen pregnancy, migrants in the rural community, migrants, farm workers, elderly, children, lots of vulnerable populations in our communities. Then we'll talk about school nursing, growth and development, common childhood ailments. Your second discussion question next week is picking 3 common childhood ailments and doing a couple of things with them. Your discussion question this week is vulnerability. pick a vulnerable population in your community and what resources do they have? What do they not? Okay, then we're going to cover family nursing, family health risks. We're going to talk about some special vulnerable populations, migrant farm workers, rural populations, homelessness, families, individuals, communities that live in poverty. Then we're going to talk about more vulnerable populations, the pregnant adolescent, LGBTQ population, mental illness, big issue, alcohol, tobacco, and other drug problems. Then we'll get into talking about hospice and palliative care in the community, death and dying, faith and spirituality, and ethics. We'll talk about occupational health nursing or occupational health, environmental health, some barriers to learning, because a lot of what we do in the community is teach. Okay, so we'll talk about barriers to learning, reinforcing education. Then we'll do a little bit on infectious disease prevention and control in the community. We'll talk about HIV, TB, STDs. We'll do a little bit on bioterrorism and disaster in the community. Home care is part of community nursing. Community resources, case management is part of community nursing. We'll talk about caring for the complex chronic illnesses in the community, which are very prevalent. And then we'll finish up with human abuse and violence, pretty prevalent in our communities, trafficking. We'll talk about cultural influences of nursing. So we've got a pretty, those are all the topics we're going to cover. The one thing I hear from students at the end of the class when I do my evaluation is, I can't believe how much is involved in community nursing that I really never thought about. But think about it. Think about your community. How does your community function? Who takes care of the people that have left the acute care setting and are now in a community setting? Home, school, hospice, dialysis, rehab center, assisted living, long-term care. Who takes care of those people? Community nurses, right? Okay, we're getting close. I have one more thing to cover. Modules. Oops, I didn't share my screen. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, your modules. You guys have a ton of resources in your online library. So I hope you're using them. Writing Center, online library resources. Okay, there's, hang on, in your book, student resources. This is what you see. Here's your 3 textbooks in your student resources. There's your textbooks. There's your links to what I was telling you about, the HESI Comp review. So it's the 3rd one down. And then the 6th one down is that Saunders comprehensive review. Okay, so the 3rd one down, the 6th one down, and then you've got calculating with confidence in the middle. And then you all obviously have access to Evolve. All right, so if you don't have these books, let me know. And then you've got a bunch of other resources, troubleshooting with Evolve, Elsevier, problems with Canvas. Okay, so utilize your I'm just going to jump back to announcements real quick. So I posted a lot. I wanted to make sure I'm going to go from the bottom. Here's your APA format. Your group project in week 7 needs to be, it's a Word document, needs to be in APA format. Your vulnerable populations assignment, your PowerPoint needs to be in APA format. Okay, there's your online etiquette. Welcome to class. That one just gave you an overview, right? What we're going to be doing, what this class is about, talking about the 2 quizzes you already did. Our first live class, so you've obviously got the information to come to Zoom, when the class is. So save that Zoom. Okay, that's what you use if you meet with me during the term, if you do tutoring, if you come to one of my reviews, that's the Zoom. Okay, there's your syllabus cover sheet. For those of you that haven't opened it, it has important dates on there. It lists, like I told you, it lists my office hour. It's always an hour before class. But please let me know. But the dates I want you to see are down here. Course starts today. Withdraw from the course by the end of May. So that's your drop date. Okay, and then the course ends the end of July. No, June. Okay. What else have I shared with you? There's Dean Brown's message that this is 10 minutes are added to the class because of Memorial Day. There's your orientation PowerPoint that we just went over if you want to look at it. Here's some extra math resources. If you struggle with math, here's a ton of resources. Okay, if I were going to suggest one, I would suggest Professor Bogart, this middle one. She has a YouTube channel and she does a really short and sweet math 101. Okay, so that's excellent. Dean Brown did a tutorial a while back for students on math. So you get tons of math resources. So I really encourage you to use them. Oh, I had to resend it. I should delete the other one. I think I resent the math resource. Somebody said they couldn't open it. So a few people, so I sent Professor Bogart stuff right there. Okay, so there's an announcement in there that says resending math resources. This was this week's announcement saying what we're going to be doing today. There's your readings. I'll do a weekly announcement every weekend. I'll include what readings you have. Not that you can't look at your syllabus, but I copy and paste it from the syllabus. And then I tell you what's due. Not that you can't look at the syllabus, but I just try and help you out here a little bit. And then this is the way I provided you. You'll get 2 documents every week. One will be your PowerPoint that you can, and the other one of how we're going to cover the concepts we're going to cover. So let's take a look at that. This is the way your weekly. Now, some of you that have been with me before, this is different. Okay. So what you're getting now every week is a PowerPoint. Okay. The concepts that are covered. Okay. So what is a PowerPoint? A PowerPoint is an outline, right? So you're going to get a PowerPoint of what we're going to be covering. But here's what you should be printing out. If you got to take notes because I'm going to be talking a lot during class. You got to take notes. Here's the PowerPoint with lines to take notes on. Okay? So you're going to be getting this every week. Week 2 PowerPoint, week 2 notes. Your week 2 notes are going to look, every week it's going to look like this for you to take notes. And then this particular week, I sent out your study guide for exam 1. And so this is for you to start preparing. It simply lists out the concepts that we're covering. And these concepts are right in your weekly, they're right on your syllabus on the left side. Week 1 concepts, week 2, so you can start filling those in after lecture. And this becomes your study guide. So you're building your study guide. So you'll be getting that every week. Okay. And then what else did I send? Opportunity to change your schedule. Anybody, if this isn't going to work for people, open this from Dean Brown. Okay, it says, please review and pay attention to attendance. There's some flexibility. If you wish to change your schedule, please email me from your Canvas course that you wish to change. Okay, you have to have it to her, Dean Brown, no later than Friday, April 12th, which is this Friday. Okay, if you want to change. Okay, so there's all your announcements. I'm going to go back to the module and show you a couple of things. We already went through student resources. There's my bio page. There's your quizzes to get started. Okay, so under, if you see activities, well, really what you should be doing each week is opening up your module. Doesn't take long. Okay, here's your overview. Okay, it goes through weekly concepts, which that's on your syllabus. You're gonna see in 3 places. You're gonna see it in your weekly announcement from me, you're gonna see it in your module, and you're gonna see it in the syllabus. Okay, so here's the 4 concepts we're covering. Then the next page is your reading. Okay, there's all your reading. If you have a PowerPoint, like a full chapter, you're gonna have a link to that right in here. Right? If it's only pages from a chapter, you're not going to have a PowerPoint. And then if it says Canvas courses, Canvas reading, you just keep clicking next, and here's your Canvas reading. It's built right into your module. So there's your first one, Introduction to Community Nursing. Levels of prevention. And we'll review this in class as well, but you have to read it ahead of time. A lot of the quizzes are based on all this prep work. Next one is What's Healthy People 2030, and it gives you a link to the website. And then the 4th Canvas reading is the Introduction to Vulnerability. Okay, so that's when it says in your announcement or syllabus, Canvas reading, that's where it is. It's built right into the shell. And then here's your discussion 1. Oh, it looks like some of you guys have already posted. Awesome. Great. And then we get into week 2. Let's just review week 2. I like to review the next week with you. So you know what you got coming. So this week you've got your discussion question. Next week, here's our concepts that we're covering. Again, I pulled this right from your syllabus. And it's in your weekly announcements. This course is pretty easy to follow. Okay, so here's all your readings. Okay, because up here, they're all pages and specific chapters, there are no PowerPoints, but you are responsible for fundamentals 11 and 12. Okay, so if you jump down here to your reading resources, there's your PowerPoints for those. And next week you have 2 Canvas readings. So if I keep going, next you're going to come up with School Nurse, which is there. And the next one is going to be your lead exposure. Okay. Then after you get through your readings, it will come up with whatever assignments you have due. So there's your week 2. Okay. There are a couple of things I want to point out. I will send you probably by week 3. If you look in week 7, this is your group. This is the group assignment. You got to look to the week it's due to get the gist. All right. So this is open now, even though I haven't sent you groups. I may send groups a little bit earlier if you want to get working on it. It's due in week 7. I'm going to assign each group. I try and do by campuses. I do my best to have everybody together, so that if you're on campus, you can work on it. This is I'll assign you an infectious disease, and you guys will do a paper on it. Okay, and here it is. Right there's the rubric. Introduction and history. Everybody usually splits it up and does a section, but you have to submit it as one paper. Who's affected by it, symptoms, pathology, what are the cure and treatments, and how is a person's daily life affected by it? Okay, so know that's coming in week 7. Okay, so you
Are
have
you
access to
assigning
that.
the groups?
What?
Are you assigning the groups or we just pick a group?
Yeah, no, I'll assign the groups because I have to
Okay.
assign you an infectious disease.
Okay, all right.
The other key assignment is in week 9. This is something that I want you to save to your desktop this week. Okay? This is a document right here. I want you to download. This is your study, you're building your study guide for your HESI. That's why you get it in week 1. So, let me explain this. I have looked back at HESIs. I don't know what questions they ask on the HESIs, but I know what topics they cover. Each box on this HESI prep assignment represents a topic they're asking about. I haven't had a chance to go through, I have, but not in detail. I haven't had a chance to go through in detail the HESIs that everybody just finished. There may be some additional topics, there may not be. There probably are. You're only required to complete this document with all the topics on here. If there are some additional topics, I'll just give them to you, and it's optional if you want to research them. Does that make sense? But you're only responsible for what's on this document. I am not going to be covering every single topic on here. I'll be covering the concept. For example, when you get into home health, there's a lot of med-surg adult topics, okay, that I'm not going to be covering. I'll cover the concept of caring for the chronically ill, but geriatrics, nutrition at home, below the knee amputation, COPD, ADLs at home, a lot of this is where you're going to see a lot of med-surg stuff. Okay, so we will be covering the concepts that all these fall within, but again, it's going to be up to you to do this. I would highly suggest you start working on this. No, work on this as we go. Don't save it for week 9. It's going to become a very cumbersome, time-consuming project. As we cover the concepts, if you fill these in now, this should be ready to submit in week 9. Does that make sense? So this is going to end up being your HESI study guide. So you're going to get out of it what you put into it. Okay? And if you look at the guidelines, as you complete this assignment, please think nursing process, think ADPI when you're addressing complete each topic. Think about, remember, next gen style questions. Okay? CJ Sim style questions. That's what's on your HESI. So you have to be applying your knowledge to clinical judgment. So think about it. Anthrax incubation. Let's say anthrax. You have a patient presented to you with anthrax, potential anthrax exposure. Think nursing process. What are you going to assess? What might you see? Maybe what are the treatments? How do you protect yourself? How would you care for a client that had an anthrax exposure? Let's say you're in the community working, there's a disaster. What's red triage? Disaster communication, what does that look like? All this information is available to you within your 3 books. You can work, I don't care if you work ahead on this assignment at all. Okay, but thinking flu surveillance. Let's say you're the public health nurse and you're doing flu surveillance. What are you going to look for? How are you going to surveil the flu? Maybe, are you going to track what's the percentage of elderly population that got the flu shot? What's the percentage of pediatric patients who are in the hospital with flu-like symptoms? I don't know. Think nursing process, right? So when you think about completing this, think about patient care, client care. I don't want to know what the definition of flu surveillance is. I want to know how you're going to do it. CDC reportable diseases. That was asked about on the last HESI, or the term ending in December. I may have stuff to add to this, but I don't know yet. I gotta sort that out. Obesity assessment. I don't want to know what the definition of obesity is. What I want to know is, how do you assess it? For certain age groups, kids, adults, women, men. Okay? Elder health assessment. We're going to be talking about the elderly as a vulnerable population, certain issues they have, but an elder health assessment, that's going to come from your Jerry class, your med-surg class. Okay? I don't want definitions of what an elder health assessment. I want to know how you're going to carry it out. How are you going to take care? You're going into the home to do an assessment of an elderly couple. What does that look like? Think ADPI. Make sense? Okay, so this is something right off the bat to print out and save to your desktop. And it's a Word document, so you can be filling it in online all the way through. Then the last, and that's open now. The last one is in week 10. So week 10. Vulnerable populations assignment. It's a longer version of your discussion question from this week. Okay. You were going to pick a vulnerable population in your zip code, and you were going to do a research paper on it. It's a PowerPoint. Here's some suggestions. A lot of people do it on homeless. A lot of people do it on mental health. Every community has all these vulnerable populations. Poor, living in poverty, homeless, pregnant adolescents, no, maybe not every community has migrants, that's more for the rural. Severely mentally ill, substance abuse, domestic violence. And if you want to go off the grid and do something, a student last term did one on veterans. It was excellent. All right, but here's a idea. You can start working on this now. It's open. Okay? So here's what you do. If you look at there's your population. It's a PowerPoint. People usually submit between 7 and 10 slides. Population description. What are the health risks? Resources, service gaps, meaning what do they not have? But look at the rubric, really specific. Okay, that's what you're getting graded on. Population, health risks, resources, service gap, and your grammar and punctuation. Okay, so so you have one group assignment, your infectious disease in week 7. I'll send out the groups. You have 2 individual assignments, your HESI prep, which you should print off or start working on, or at least have on your desktop, and your vulnerable populations. Those are individual assignments, and that's a PowerPoint. I need to go through my list now. I think we've probably covered everything. Student resources, books, assignments and availability, exam software, providing term review. Got that to you. Campuses. Alexandra, what campus are you from? Where's Alexandra? Oh, she was here. Olivia, what campus are you from?
We're from, both of us are from the Fortis, Cuyahoga Falls location.
Thank you, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, thank you. Let's see, I got campuses, groups I told you about, announcements told you about, longer time told you about, 10 minutes more, no breaks, online books, names on Zoom, I sent out an email this morning that I need to know if you already haven't responded to me, if anybody's repeating, re-entry, or has accommodations. So there you go. And I'm over by 4 minutes because we didn't take a break. I'm over by 4 minutes. Sorry about that. Does anybody have any general questions that will benefit the whole group? And if anybody has any specific questions, stay on and we'll go through them. So,
I have a question. So, like, what are some key things that we can hound on for your quizzes and your exams? Because, I mean, I heard you, but you know, you were going so fast and then you were just talking so much. I started to lose focus. I'm sorry.
okay, what is your specific question, Amar?
What are some things that we can hound on for the quizzes and exams?
Prepare. Do your module readings. Okay.
Okay.
You got to prepare for class, for quizzes, that's definite. As far as exams, you have a study guide. So you're going to have to be taking notes on your study guide as we go through each week. You should, if you can, attend review sessions. We'll be covering the study guide. If you can't attend review sessions, you can watch recordings. You'll have all 3 recordings. Come to lecture. Does that help? Okay. Anybody have any other questions that will benefit the group?
Do
I
we,
got a question, Ms. Marble.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
my question was, do we have to notify you if we're going to sit in on any other of your lectures? Like we here on Mondays and I want to come back on Friday. Do I have to notify you that I want to
No.
come in on Friday?
No, it's going to be this pretty much the same lecture, but yeah, if you want to hear it again, no, just show up. As long as you
Okay.
come on your regular class, you can come to any other one of my sections. That's fine.
Okay.
But one thing you just said that reminded me of something. You'll get a recording after, so in a couple hours after this converts for this class. In case you missed something or you want to go back and review the lecture, you'll always have a lecture recording. Okay? Okay, go ahead, Clarinda, go.
Oh, I wanted to know if when I did my discussion, I wasn't able to edit. I was wondering if you could disable so we could edit our discussion.
I can't. Just do me a favor and resubmit it as a Word document attachment to me.
Okay.
So just rewrite it how you want it and submit it to me as an attachment. I can't, it's locked.
Oh, no problem.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, submit it to me as an attachment. Has this been helpful? I know it's a lot of information, but I really want to get it out in week 1 so we can just dive into content and concepts next week. And I know this is going to be a very long week for everybody. I get it. I get it. I'm glad I have you guys on Monday. I can't wait to see my Friday night group at 9 o'clock. I mean, they're going to be exhausted from this whole week, right? So, you know how to reach out to me. If you have any questions or you need any clarification on anything we talked about today, I'll send you the recording. Stay on if you have any questions. And I really didn't do my due diligence, and now I'm 8 minutes over and we didn't take a break. So I am done. It is nice to meet everybody. I look forward to seeing you next Monday. Okay? Okay, I'm going to mute myself for a minute.